Hey guys, Clocky clocking in. The new set has pretty much fully leaked. We're gonna check out some cool cards from Wisdom of Sea and Sky. I'm excited to show you guys. We're gonna look at the Ho-Oh set first, and then we're gonna look at Lugia. I'm gonna skim through some of these. Some of them are like just regular Pokemon that do regular moves, so there's no reason to get too in-depth on them. We got Tangela, sleep powder. It makes people sleep. 20 for 2 energy, doing 20, that's stupid. The asleep thing is kind of neat, I guess, but like 20 damage is nothing for 2 energy. Tangrowth is cool though. I think Tangrowth you'll be seeing a lot of in some of these grass decks. It does a move called Grass Knot for 3 energy. You can do 40 more damage, so 10. It starts at 10, which is like nothing, but it does 40 more damage for each energy that your opponent has for their retreat cost. So let's say you're going against a Pokemon like this Tangrowth here that has 4 retreat cost. You're doing 170 damage. And I don't know if you know this, there's a lot of Pokemon out there with 4 retreat cost. So this is going to be a solid choice, I think, for a lot of grass decks. 130 health, especially with the Leaf Cape, brings you up to 160. And with Erica and stuff, is nothing to scoff at. I think this is like a solid card. And you can attack, like if you run Superior or like Leafy on EX, this is something you can get online like relatively quickly. I think this will be an incredibly fun card to play. The Hoppip line with Jumpluff being the highlight. Jumpluff's pretty cool. It has an ability where your active Pokemon has no retreat cost. This actually, if the card is read correctly, I believe this means it counters Tangrowth entirely, which is kind of funny. It's interesting to me. I love this card, but it is a stage 2. So you do have to get to Jumpluff to get this ability active. And you could throw it in any deck technically, but then you're running like 2 Hoppips, 2 Jumpluffs, and rare candies. And that's 6 cards. To get no retreat cost when we like literally have Lyra, or like Leaf cuts the retreat cost by a good amount, or if it's a colorless that has damage on it, Illima's good. It's an interesting card for sure, and I think it has a lot of potential, but unless it's a grass deck, I don't know if it'll be very like, it just feels like you're going to be spending a lot of card space on what might be just kind of a dud, especially if you're running it in a deck that isn't grass energy. All of the evolutions beforehand are all grass energy evolutions or grass energy moves. So if you're not running grass energy, they're all bricks. You start with Hoppip, brick. It only has 50 health too. That's also something that's important to note. That's not a lot of health. It's almost, I mean, it's not quite baby Pokemon levels, but it can be one shot by a lot of things pretty quickly. So you got to be mindful of that for sure. Floor is kind of neat. Yanma has U-turn, where you can swap with a Pokemon in the back. That could be paired pretty well with Yanmega. We'll have to see. It is all colorless too, so you could be running Yanma and Yanmega EX kind of all in whatever kind of deck you want, but it's nothing wild. And Yanmega, regular Yanmega being 90 health and 60 damage for 2 colorless energy. It's not like the worst, but I wouldn't say it's the best either. Heracross is neat. Heracross doesn't work with Berry. Stop telling me this Heracross works with Berry. It don't. You guys are out there and you guys keep pointing this Heracross out and everyone's like, it works with Berry. Well, not everybody. People are quick to correct people, but it does not work with Berry, so don't think it does. If this Pokemon has no damage on it, this attack does 40 more damage. I think this is still pretty good though. In my opinion, there are a lot of decks where you could run this Heracross on your back line and then you swap it in and it's doing 80 damage. And then if it gets hit, it's doing 40, but it's doing 80 before that, and that's pretty cool. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Plus, it's 90 health. You can throw a Leaf Cape on this, and it'll have 120 health. That's pretty good. There are some cards you can't see. Like there's a Cherubi here. It's got Sweets Relay. If it's got a Pokemon tool on it, Sweets Relay. And I would love this as a Sweets Relay choice, but it evolves into Cherum here, and Cherum doesn't have Sweets Relay. Well, then why do I care? It's like, oh, like it's cool that I could do a free Sweets Relay turn 1, That's fun, being able to Sweets Relay that. Or that's kind of like the issue with a lot of Sweets Relay decks is they hate going first. But if you got Cherubi, you love going first. But then it evolves and you're like, oh, I'm not doing Sweets Relay anymore. This is kind of a waste of space. So it's a card for sure. It's definitely a card. We've got Slugma and Macargo. Macargo, we now know what it does. It's kind of bad. It's for 2 energy. It chooses one other Pokemon, either yours or your opponent's, is chosen 3 times. And for each time a Pokemon was chosen, you do 50 damage to it. So this is kind of like Draco Meteor, but worse because it can hit your team. Now, granted, like if you have nothing out, this is only hitting Pokemon on the other side of the field, right? But then you have to, like, I don't know, there's a lot of like you were praying that this Macargo isn't getting knocked out the turn after this, I guess. I mean, maybe, you know, maybe you're fine, but then like you can't use it again if you go to place another Pokemon after you've done this move like once or twice, and you know you're gonna get knocked out the turn after. Like, you have to play something, so that something could get like hit with a ton of damage. You could be knocking out one of your own EXs with this. It's very possible you're doing 150 damage to one Pokemon on your bench. That's terrible. I wouldn't use this card. It's a meme. It's definitely a card you can use for fun, but man, it's not gonna be good. We've seen Magby already. It's Toasty Toss, Fire Energy Baby move. No energy. We got Entei. It's terrible. I cannot lie. I hate that too because I love Entei. It's a 4 energy move for 110 damage. And I don't think that's that good at all. I kind of think this is kind of lame. I know it's a single prize and it's a good target for Ho-Oh EX to build energy onto. But if you flip the coin and it ends up being Tails, you can't attack with this Pokemon the turn after. Unless you have a way to build energy into it, which maybe you could figure something out. But if you're really unlucky and you flip Tails often, then you're really burning energy really fast. Otherwise, it's not like, I wouldn't say this is like the worst Pokemon. It's definitely better than Macargo, but like that's a low bar, you know? I think it's okay. It's nothing crazy. Now, Heatmore, we know that it is 60 more damage. I was right. I was like, I think that looks like a 6, and I was correct. It does 90 damage if a Pokemon is burned. And we haven't seen the Pokemon that goes with this in this set, because it's in the Lugia pack, but I'll show you that here in a bit. I'm excited to show that off, because that should be good. We've got Totodile line. Unfortunately, the starters don't have EXs. I'm hoping that they do get, at least 1 or 2 of them, I'm hoping gets an EX. Like in a mini set that comes after this. I feel like there has to be a mini set coming after this because we don't have none of the legendary beasts have EXs in this set either. It's a very like strange cast of Pokemon they've chosen for the EXs. I'm honestly not sure why they picked some of them, but we're gonna rock with them as much as we can. Azumarill, this Pokemon takes minus 30 damage from attacks from fire or water Pokemon. It's okay. We got Delibird, lets you draw a card. We do like the fact that Delibird is weak to steel and not lightning. That's kind of nice. And you draw a card for 10 damage. So it's kind of like Meowth, but in a water deck. Kind of fun. Has 70 health. It's actually not bad, honestly, for a card that draws. That isn't like Eevee. I actually don't hate this. And the fact that it does 10 damage real quick is kind of nice. This isn't like a terrible card. I think Delibird is kind of nice. Swano we've talked about. Swano's really good. Raikou, it does thunder. This Pokemon does 20 damage to, or sorry, yeah, it does 20 damage to itself. For 70. 7, I don't know, it's not terrible, honestly, for 2 electric energy doing 70 damage. That's not bad for a basic, for sure. But Raikou only has 90 health. This is probably a good Pokemon to put an electrical cord on, and then when it knocks itself out, you put the energy somewhere else. Not terrible, honestly. Not great. But I do see this being a good rush electric type. Like, you want to be doing damage quick. You pair this with like Zeraora and some of the new Pokemon items we got where you can move energy. I think this could cook. I think actually this might be a decent card. We got a Molga, does Raging Thunder. This also does 10 damage to one of your own benched Pokemon. I don't know why we have these cards. It is low risk, low reward. So that's what a lot of these cards are, honestly. It's like, or high risk, low reward. It's like, I'm gonna do 10 damage to something that could possibly get Cyrus or Umbreon EX'd for 40 damage. I'm glad I did that. No one's glad they did that. Smoochum is a baby Pokemon. It does 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active. This is a move that you use like in late game, but it's a baby Pokemon. Pulling a baby Pokemon out late game, I feel like is such a bad move. I don't know why. I mean, maybe you bring this out whenever you want to be like, aha, you know, I could play this. But I feel like it's more of a liability than anything else, so I don't know if it's really worth it. Jinx has this move that's called a Track Smack for 30 damage and 2 energy. You flip a coin, and if it's heads, it's paralyzed. That's kind of neat, I guess, but 30 damage is like so underwhelming. If it did like 50 or 60 damage, I would actually think this card isn't that bad, but the 30 damage is really off-putting. We have a new Togepi line, and we do have a Togekiss, not Togekiss EX, which means this does work with Cynthia, and I'm pumped. For 3 energy, it does Magical Shot for 70 damage. It has an ability where if any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks, you flip a coin, and if it's heads, you prevent all of the damage done to it. That is awesome. I love that for this, actually. It's pretty much, I think it's the same health as the other Togekiss we have, or Togekiss, however you say it. But you get to use Cynthia with this, and so you'll get to do 120 damage occasionally. I know it's not Overdrive Smash, but honestly, I think I like the ability on this more, especially since it's a one prize Pokemon that's not terribly hard to get online. The move being 3 energy is kind of meh, but I mean, 70 damage, like the potential to do 120 damage and then not get hurt. I like that. That's fun. So I don't think this is a bad card at all. I think this is kind of nice, actually. We've got some unknowns. There's another unknown, but this is one of them. And then there's 2 other ones that, like, we've got an unknown from a previous set where you can search your deck. This is the one with guard. If you have any other unknown in play with a different ability, all of your Pokemon take 10 less damage from attacks. It's pretty good. Not too shabby. And it's colorless, so you can stick it in whatever deck you want. Before this, all we had for unknown was the search one, and it wasn't that good. So we have guard, and then there's another one that is power, which lets you do 10 more damage with each of your attacks, as long as you have another unknown. So you could pair the guard unknown with the power unknown on your bench, and honestly, you'd be covering a lot of different stuff. You know, you suddenly have 50 damage moves that are doing 60 damage, and that knocks out a lot of Pokemon. So if you can play smart, it's not half bad. Drop Rig's not good. It's confusion for 3 energy, and it's 50 damage. It's terrible. I'm so sorry if you like Giraffe Rig or whatever you want to call it. I'm so sorry. It's not good. Granbull's okay. It's 3 energy for 100 damage. It does 20 recoil. It's not bad, I would say. It's a stage 1. Yeah, I don't think it's the worst. You got Musharna that has Dream Dance, both active Pokemon. It puts Musharna to sleep for 60 damage. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these cards are low risk, or high risk, low reward. I don't understand them. It's like, oh, cool, you're both asleep, but also you did 60 damage, and that's like kind of underwhelming. So I don't know if you'd ever use that. We got another Onix, 3 colorless energy, by the way, because it works with Steelix. We like that, 50 damage. The fact that it's 3 colorless energy too, not that bad. It works with Brock. You can build energy onto it. Not that bad. Not that bad at all. Especially with Donphan EX, which we'll get to here in a second. I honestly think you could pair like a weird Onix Steelix deck, maybe. Well, no, you'd have to do Onix. But we'll get to Donphan here in a minute. I actually think Donphan EX might be kind of good, but we'll see. Sudowoodo's pretty alright. A lot of these Pokemon are just kind of whatever. Gliscor, you know, 2 colorless for 60, honestly, for like some weird type coverage. I actually kind of dig it. At first I was like, that's kind of eh, but like 60 damage, 2 colorless. I don't know, is that any better than the Yanmega? It's the same as the Yanmega, but Gliscor has 100. And Gliscor can also get damage buffs from like Lucario, so it's not bad. It's not bad. Once again, the Swinub line is not that great. 4 energy to do 160 damage is really good, but then you also do 20 damage to each of your benched, once again making them susceptible to Cyrus or getting knocked out or whatever. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either. But 160 damage, that's a lot of damage. So I will say that it's It's not nothing. Plus, you can rare candy to it, but you still have to build energy on it. That's the only, like, drawback to Mamoswine, honestly. We got Fampi, 70 health. It does 10 damage to itself with this move, and it does 30, which, like, a lot of fighting-type Pokemon are, like, kind of decent right now, mostly because the meta is filled with a lot of colorless, as it is currently. We got a lot of Eevee. So a lot of these Pokemon, I mean, you got a Geo and you hit something with you hit an Eevee with Fampi and you run Geo, you're knocking that Fampi out, or the Eevee out, I mean. That's not bad. And then we got Donphan EX. 160 health for a stage 1, by the way, is pretty sick. If this Pokemon has at least 2 extra fighting energy attached, it does 60 more damage. So this move starts at 50, could do 110. I think this is like a perfect card target for like Passimian EX. I think Passimian EX and Donphan EX run really well together. The fact that you can pretty much pump out 110 damage pretty quickly is nice. You have a ton of health as Donphan EX. 160 health is nothing to scoff at all. I think the only issue with fighting type is that you can't ramp it very well, but you can scale the damage with Lucario, like I said earlier. If you got 2 Lucario on your bench and then Fampi, and then you send this thing forward, it's doing 150 damage. That's nothing to scoff at. That's pretty nice. And you might think, well, isn't it kind of hard to like set that up? There is another card that would help that. So I'm just saying, keep paying attention. We're getting to some spicy cards here soon. Hitmontop is cool. It's pretty much a good mix of Hitmontop and Hitmonlee, or Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, where it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and it does 20 damage to the active. I don't think you get to choose which bench Pokemon receives the damage. That's the only thing, but still cool. We've got the Larvitar and Pupitar and Tyranitar line, but Larvitar and Pupitar are fighting type, and then Tyranitar is dark type. So these are colorless attacks that they have. And then Pupitar has a guard press, which does damage, and it takes 30 less damage from attacks. Pretty good. Honestly, not bad. But since it is a stage 2, you're probably rushing rare candy. You're not. I mean, you might run out Pupitar in a deck like that, but for the most part, you're kind of rushing the rare candies into the stage 2 anyway. But you never know. The whole Zubat line goes into a Crobat EX, which I'm excited about. I'm glad that I called the Crobat EX coming out. It has a 1 energy move for 70 damage that poisons the opponent's Pokemon. I like poison. I think it's a fun win condition. However, we keep adding stuff to the game that negates poison, and it makes me kind of sad. Because I'm like, oh yeah, this is good, but if your opponent there's like a new card coming out, but if they have Pokemon Center Lady, or if they run Arceus EX, you're not doing poison. So it just does 70 damage, which, I mean, still isn't bad. And also, Crobat EX having 170 health is nothing to scoff at. That's good. It's got a lot of health. And the fact that you can, like, turn 3, have a Pokemon that strong, out and attacking and ready to go, that's pretty good. You pair this with one of the other new tools we're about to get here for dark type Pokemon, and I think this works pretty well. Ariados has a 1 dark type energy move called Bind Down, 40 damage. Corners the Pokemon, they can't retreat. Not too bad, not too shabby, nothing crazy. Umbreon EX we've seen already. Houndoom is a 3 dark type energy move. Diving Swipe, 70 damage. You can discard a random a random card from your opponent's hand. Not bad, not great, because it's 3 energy, but it's not terrible. Tyranitar is pretty sick. It does 130 damage for 4 dark type energy. Now, normally this is like a lot of energy, but it has an ability where once during your turn, you can move all your dark energy from each of your Pokemon to this Pokemon. So if you're building like a Darkrai, or you have a Darkrai that's about to like faint, you could Lyra or Leaf it out of the way into a Tyranitar and move all of the energy from it to this Tyranitar. And that's sick. Like, yeah, maybe, you know, if they haven't gotten any prizes on you, they switch in the Darkrai and they knock it out, but you still have all the energy on the Tyranitar. You haven't wasted any energy, which is really good. I like that. I think this is a fun card. I think there's a lot of dark type decks that'll probably run this pretty well. Definitely Darkrai EX. I think we'll see Darkrai EX come back a little bit, especially with the new tool too. Absol's kind of crazy. You get to do 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's crazy. I think it's crazy because it's 30 damage And we are getting like a ton of baby Pokemon that'll have 30 health. It's like literally a baby Pokemon counter. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's 30 damage. Fortress has a lot of health, 80 damage for 3. Metal type energy is not the worst thing in the world. Steelix 4 energy for heavy impacts, kind of meh. 150 health on a stage 1's not bad though. But I don't know. I like Steelix, but this card's kind of mid. Kind of sad about that. Skarmory EX. We're getting Skarmory EX. This card's pretty cool. It's 2 energy for 70 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks. I think that's good. I actually think this card's really good. There is a trainer card that pairs really well with it. I forget her name. Jasmine? No. Yes, no. There's a trainer. We'll get to it in a minute. But it also helps with damage resistance. And this is a basic EX. I kind of think this card is really good. Because it has so much damage resistance, like set up ready for it, that you could really just be swinging with this thing for like way too long. And I think that's kind of the appeal to it, at least for me, is that this is a card that you just swing with. And when it gets knocked out, you pull in something else. Honestly, not bad. I don't know if it's better than Solgaleo EX. That's kind of the question you have to ask yourself. Anytime you look at a Metal Energy deck, is it better than Solgaleo EX? And I feel like this might have a bit more consistency to it, so I don't think it's that bad. I actually think this card could be pretty decent. The Kling line's alright. Gear Spinner's not bad for 3 energy. It's pretty much Overdrive Smash, where the next turn the attack does more damage. It does 70 more damage the turn after. So it does 70 damage the first turn, and then it does 140 damage. Like, this, honestly, is something that you could pair with Skarmory EX, and it wouldn't be that bad. While you're attacking with Skarmory EX, you're building energy on this Kling. I think it's not a bad choice. It's pretty decent. It's a stage 2, so it benefits from Lily. You can put, you know, some fun stuff on it as far as tools go to help keep it alive. All in all, not a terrible Pokemon card. I was kind of surprised. Pharaoh is fun. If your opponent's active Pokemon has a grass type, it does 40 more damage, so it does 70 damage, which is fun. I don't think it's that great, but it's fun. Chansey and Blissey. We got new Chansey and Blissey. You flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks, which is like, it's alright. It doesn't do damage, but it protects the Chansey. And then it gets you to Blissey. As much energy as you have on this thing, it does 20 more damage for each energy it has. So it has to have 3 energy. So, which is like confusing to me. This card is the energy requirement for this attack is funny to me because it's 20 base and then it does 20 more damage for each energy attached. So like it's technically 80 base because you need 3 energy on this thing to even attack with it. There's not a card that helps it attack earlier. It needs 3 energy. So it's technically a 80 damage base move. But if you keep stacking energy on this thing, it could hit hard. We're on a video. You could pair this honestly with Ho-Oh and it would cook. I would literally just, if I was anybody, I kind of want to make this deck. You just run, because I think honestly, if you get enough energy on this, it's better than Lugia EX. If you use Ho-Oh to ramp Blissey to heaven and back, it's doing like, if you can get 2 Ho-Oh moves off, that's 6 energy. I mean, and technically if you're doing Ho-Oh moves, that's also another turn where you can move another energy onto this thing. It does like 140 to 100, like, I think technically since you're putting energy on Blissey during those, like one of those turns at least, it's at least 160 damage, if I'm doing the math right. That's 7 energy. Yeah, and it's 20 more, so yeah. It's 160 damage that you're doing. I mean, come on. It's goofy. Like, I don't know how often you'd be doing that. Like technically Lugia does this better for 180 damage, but if you can keep the Ho-Oh alive and then flip into this, I don't know, it could be nasty. It might be dumb, but it could be nasty. Kangaskhan is neat. If your opponent's active Pokemon is evolved, it does 40 more damage, so it does 60. So honestly, kind of a better Kangaskhan than the one we've had in the past. I think this one might be one people bring back. We might be bringing Kangaskhan back. Eevee. Hey, you guys like Eevee? What if you drew any card? You draw any card with Eevee, right? But what if you specifically drew Pokemon, making this card way better? They really were like, could we buff Eevee even more? Yes, we can. We're going to make it specifically draw Pokemon cards. This being a thing to me is insane. Why would we do this? I don't understand. We got Furret, 80 damage. Flip a coin. If Tails is attack does nothing. Kind of sad. But there is a card in this set that could mitigate that, so not bad. Hoot Hoot doing 30 damage for 2 energy is kind of sad. But then it's got knocked out. For 3 energy, it can do 90 damage. And if you flip a coin and you hit Tails, this attack does nothing. But if you hit heads, they can't do any damage to you. Which once again pairs with a card that we'll see here in a bit. We've got Imitate. Draw cards until you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. That's kind of fun. If maybe your opponent's running a Sylveon deck and then, you know, you hit that move, you're drawing just as many cards as them. That could be neat. Not great, but it could be fun. Dunsparce has Sudden Flash. Oh, that's fun. That's like a reference to the cave it's in. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. That's not terrible, honestly, but it doesn't do, like, right now we don't have a Dunsparce yet, so this doesn't do a whole lot, but once we get to Dunsparce, this actually isn't a terrible card. I think it's kind of nice. 50 health is kind of meh, though, but not bad. Teddy Ursa heals itself. It doesn't do any damage. Healing just isn't that strong in this game, unfortunately. Ursaring's not that great. It's not bad, though. It's like Wormadam, but it's colorless energy. You flip 2 coins. This attack does 20 more damage for each heads. So it does 60, but it could do 100. Not the worst. Not the best, but not the worst. It's an alright card. And if we ever get Ursaluna, it might be not too bad. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, Santler here, it does 50 more damage. So this is like Skarmory, but like 20 damage better. And it's 2 energy instead of 1. But it has a little bit more health than Skarmory does as well, if I'm not mistaken. So this isn't bad. I don't think it's terrible, honestly, for 2 energy. Doing, you know, probably, because Pokemon tools are pretty easy to draw, I feel like. Probably doing 70 energy is pretty good. I like that a lot. Bouffalin's not too bad. It's just if you flip a coin to get Tails, you do 70 damage for each heads. Kind of Gamba, but you know we do love the Gamba. So here are the Pokemon tools I was talking about before. We do have Steel Apron. The metal Pokemon this card is attached to takes 10 less damage from attacks, recovers special conditions, and it can be affected by special conditions. I think, like, why? The fact that it also recovers special conditions makes this card, like, crazy. I think it should have, like, just, like, you know, like, if you draw it late, it'd be like, oh, too late, you know. You still have the, if you're poisoned or burned, you're poisoned or burned, sorry. But this, like, prevents it and then heals you from those status conditions, too. So, like, let's say you're put to sleep, not anymore. You're back awake. Pretty crazy. Dark Pendant is for Dark-type Pokemon. These are fun cards, by the way, because Steel and Dark-type were introduced in Generation 2, so a little nod to that. This card is kind of nuts. This is like a card you definitely pair with, like, Crobat EX because of how much health it has. If the Dark Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, your opponent reveals a random card from their hand and shuffles it back into their deck. That's fun. That's really cool. Like, Crobat already has 170 health. Like, you could Giant Cape it for 190, but I think you throw a Dark Pendant on it and they have to hit you a couple times to get you knocked out. And I'm saying... every time they get hit with an attack, they're taking a card out of their hand and putting it back in their deck. That's pretty sick. I think that's pretty good. I actually really like this. This is a fun little mechanic. I think it's really cool. We know Rescue Scarf, we know Silver. Jasmine. I was right. I think I said Jasmine. During your opponent's next turn, your Steelix and your Skarmory EX take 50 less damage from your attacks. Or from your opponent's attacks. So you could run Skarmory EX and attack with it, and it's taking 70 less damage. And then if you put the, I'm gonna call it a bib. If you put the metal bib on, it's doing, Pokemon are doing 80 less damage on that turn. So Skarmory is like, it will tank damage. Skarmory EX, I think, is gonna be a threat because it's just not gonna be easy to knock out. You know, you might think you get close, but maybe, you know, people are gonna run potions with it or whatever. I honestly think, call me crazy, but I think you could run like an 18 trainer. Well, not quite, because you want to be careful for Choreo, right? But you could run pretty darn near an 18 trainer Skarmory EX deck. And then I don't know what other steel type you'd run. Maybe a colorless Pokemon, but it's looking like you could really like stay alive for a long time with Skarmory for sure. And then we got Hiker. I mentioned this earlier about fighting type getting a slight buff. For each fighting type Pokemon you have in play, you look at that many cards from the top of your deck and you can put them in any order. Now, this is like, I want fossils to have a card where you can find fossils better. And at first I was like, this would be really good for fossils. It's not, because you have to have fighting type Pokemon on the field. And a lot of fossil decks don't really run many fighting type Pokemon like that. And if they did, then that's that many less cards you have to like search for. So this is honestly really good for Lucario decks. If you're running Lucario and you're looking for Lucario to evolve it and you need all your cards in like a certain order, or like, you know, like Professor's Research is one of the 4 cards, because if you have 4 fighting type Pokemon in play, that's 4 cards you get to look at and rearrange. So if Professor's Research is one of them, you can put that at the top, pull Professor's Research, draw the 2 cards that you put after that, and then you use them however you want. I think that's fun. So I think this will definitely be a good buff for decks like that. And I think it'll really work well with like Donphan EX and like Passimian. I really do think Passimian EX, Lucario, and Donphan EX will be like a really good deck, especially with this trainer. I think that makes it really good. And then if you guys want to look at some of the arts, here are some of the arts. I'll scroll past them a little bit here. They're looking really good. The 1-stars look like a ton of fun. I love some of the rainbow borders are really good. Like the Donphan EX art looks really good. It's really cute with the Phanpy. Crobat EX, love all the color. Same with Umbreon EX, looks so good. The Skarmory EX is like a reference to a card that already exists, which I love. It's like the same art almost, but it's it like flying faster. It looks sick. Love it a ton. And then the Ho-Omers looks sick, of course. I haven't seen the video yet. I'm gonna hold off and hopefully I get the card. The art for Ho EX just looks so good. We got a bunch of shinies. Tons of shinies. Ignore Leafeon EX because it's pretty much the same color. But we got shiny Eevee, you know, if you're looking for shiny Eevee and its evolutions, here you go. And it's the Eevee Grove versions too, in case you were wondering about the regular evolutions. You can see this flare on here is the one from Eevee Grove, so it's actually a good one. So definitely be on the lookout for some of these if you end up pulling them. Hopefully you don't pull too many though, like I feel like I do. And I'm just not having fun when that happens. All right, that was Ho-Oh. This is Lugia. Let's look at some of the cards from the Lugia set. We've got Blossom, 60 damage coin flips, flip 3 coins, each heads is 60. Yeah, well, it's coin flipping. I have a love-hate relationship with coin flipping. This is no different. The fact that it's a stage 2 as well is like, although like, I mean, it's 2 energy, so it's not a bad rare candy target. I mean, hey, if you're feeling lucky, and the option's there. Meganium is in this. We don't, like I said earlier, the starters aren't EXs. I'm hoping a mini set we get those, but Meganium's got Bloomshine. You heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. Healing is just not that great right now. Unfortunately, I don't really feel like there's so many things that hit so hard in this game that anything that heals is like, who cares? You know, I feel like this one's no different. Like, yeah, 80 damage isn't bad, and 20 is like a good amount of heal, but especially from all of your Pokemon. But I don't know, I can't imagine you have a lot of stuff on your bench that's getting hit too hard. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, especially with Lyra becoming a card here where you can flip stuff that has damage on it. You can flip into this and then heal whatever you just flipped in. Are you gonna heal a ton of damage from it? Probably not, but who knows? I mean, maybe. It's something. It's not bad, but it's not great. And then Sunkern and Sunflora aren't that great still. You got Amega. Okay, so you want to talk about a scary EX? This is not it. This is Shuckle EX. It is a basic, it is like essentially Skarmory EX, but grass type. It's the same thing. It just has the ability is innate, so it doesn't have to attack. And then it's another coin flip move. And it doesn't do, like, if you were somehow to flip 3 heads out of 3 coins, you would do 60 entire damage. I don't know. I don't know what the point of this card is. I think some people are like, it's a wall. And I'm like, yeah, but like not a good wall. To be fair, you stick a leaf cape on this. It's got 150 health. For a basic EX, that's not bad. And then the fact that it takes 20 less damage from attacks isn't bad. It's just the attack is so dumb. Like if this was like, this should be like Wormadam, where it does a base amount of damage, and then you flip coins until you hit tails, and that's how much extra damage it does. Because then I'd be all about this card. I'd be like, this card's sick. I'd be running this. No joke, because I like Shuckle. I like Shuckle. You do not buckle under Shuckle. Or Shuckle don't buckle. I don't know. I can't say what I want to say because it's a swear. But it's something. I don't know. It's a card. It's a meme. That's all it really is, I feel like. I'm trying to think about like what deck you would fit this into, and you'd be like, oh, valid. No, it's just not it. I'm sorry, it's just not it. It's just okay. It's really not that great. Yeah, we already talked about how dumb Cherubi is. We'll skip that. Okay, so we do have a new Ninetales. I like this Ninetales. It works with Blaine. Don't forget about Blaine. Blaine allows Ninetales to do 30 more damage, I believe. This is 3 fire energy, essentially. Scorching Breath. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. But it's 1 retreat cost. So, you know, if this Ninetales gets hit and it's not knocked out, you could Lyra. And, like, if you Lyra into something that has, like, a low retreat cost, or, like, a baby Pokemon that has no retreat cost, you flip back from that Pokemon into Ninetales, it'll be able to attack again with Scorching Breath. So you could definitely do some damage with this thing. 120 damage is nothing to scoff at. And like, yeah, you could maybe only use it once, but like, what if you use it twice? And it's 120 damage, and like I said with Blaine, it's 150. And then it's a one price card. I actually think this card's pretty sick. This is like a fun card for sure, especially being a stage 1. We have the Cyndaquil line. Typhlosion, actually not bad. Unless I'm sure you've noticed the trend with the starters is that they're not that great. That's why I'm hoping there's an EX somewhere in here. I'm thinking the mini sets will have the EXs for these Pokemon, since none of them got EXs. But I don't know, maybe I'm just coping. But it has the ability Fire Breath. Once during your turn, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon burned. That's actually really good. That's awesome. That means they're taking at least 20 damage from that burn, and Typhlosion doesn't have to be in the active. It can be on your bench. So you could be running something else in your active spot, and then you just burn with Typhlosion, and you're causing at least 20 damage, maybe more if they don't flip heads properly. You could be doing 40 damage. You could even maybe be doing 60. It's possible. It's pretty sick for free. You gotta love it. Not bad at all. I like this card quite a bit, actually. I think it's fun. And then it has a regular, like, Magma, like, I don't know, man. 60 damage. I mean, it's 2 energy. And the ability is pretty cool because you don't have to be in the active spot, but like 60 damage. Could we not have done at least maybe 70? You know, maybe it does something cool with the ability. I don't know. It's cool enough though that I do think it'll get some play. And it works with Heat more. I was hoping something would work with Heat more, but yeah, this Typhlosion works with Heat more, which is pretty sick. So I do love that. Politoed is okay. Some people are like, it's fun. The ability is, as long as this Pokemon is on your bench, attacks used by Pokemon that evolve from Poliwhirl do plus 40 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. You can only have 1. You could have 2, but you can really only have 1. So you would run, well, you can have 2. But this Pokemon has to be on the bench. So it's 1. That's the sad part. So it's, you have the ability, and the Pokemon that evolves from Poliwhirl can do 40 more damage. So instead of 60 on this Hyper Voice, if you have another Politoed on your bench, you're doing 100. It doesn't stack, like, at all, because you can only have 2 Poliwag in your deck. So you can only have 2 Pokemon that evolve from Poliwhirl total. So, like, I guess I can understand why, because otherwise this would be broken. Like, this thing would be doing 140 damage. For 2 energy is like insane. That would be, especially for a 1 prize card, it would be nuts. So I understand why it doesn't work the way I think people think it should or want it to, you know. But it's a fun card. It might have potential in the future. For all I know, there could be one day where we get a Politoed EX or a Poly Wrath EX, and it'll work with this card. And when that day comes, it'll be sick. It'll have some sick move or something that does like 100 damage, and then we'll be like, oh my god, remember that Politoed from the one set? So, and maybe we'll get something like that in the mini set. Maybe there'll be a Politoed in the mini set that does something crazy. Politoed EX, I mean. Because like I said, it says just the Pokemon that evolve from Poliwhirl, so EXs would count. So this could be sick, but right now it's like, it's okay. There's nothing crazy. It's a fun card though. I will say I do like that ability. I think it's fun. We got Kingdra EX as our water EX for this. It has a 2 energy water type move, Stormy Prison. It does 90 damage. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. Like I've said, I've been thinking about this for the longest time. Like this is basically Starmie, but it has an extra ability attached to it, Starmie EX, and it has a bit more health. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same card. It's not that great. The reason is because we have Lyra. Lyra swaps. It doesn't count as a retreat. It counts as a swap. So you're more than welcome to use Lyra to flip it. It's not that great. 90 damage is okay, I guess. I mean, the ability is cool because if they're not rocking Lyra, then you are in a really good position. You are hitting them with a water Pokemon that's got 170 health. I mean, you could do some nasty stuff. I'm trying to think about all the different water Pokemon they've introduced in this set. There's quite a few. I mean, like obviously we've got Gyarados, which we've talked about already with Wild Swing. But there's not really anything like that would I would think would support this, you know? Like when Arbok came out, it was really cool because with Arbok, you could lock certain Pokemon in, and those Pokemon that you're locking in, they're stuck. And you could set up, I guess, like a Kingdra EX Pidgeot deck, but then you've got a lot of Pokemon you're running because those are both stage 3 Pokemon. I guess you could run Pidgeot and Kingdra EX and kind of run the same thing you would do with Arbok. Because with the biggest issue with Arbok is that it's a lower health Pokemon, but this is, you know, it's an EX. And it's got 170 health. And you can heal it with Lily. So, I'm trying to think. There's nothing that's like too crazy though that would pair well as a water Pokemon because it's 2 water energy to use the move, so you're probably only running a water deck with this, or like some colorless Pokemon too. But you could, like I said, Pidgeot wouldn't be too bad. The ability that lets it, you know, swap a different Pokemon in, kind of like Sabrina, it might not be bad. The more I think about it, you could run Pidgeot with this for sure, and it might kind of cook a little bit. Gyarados with the Wild Swing, discarding water type Pokemon. That actually has another card that works with it. We'll look at that card in a bit and whether or not I think it's good. I think it's kind of okay. I mean, we'll see. Well, that's all I gotta say about it is we'll see. And I'll tell you why in a minute here. There's Quillfish. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned for 20 damage. That's okay, but that's all it does. Corsola is weird because we know it doesn't evolve or anything. It has the move Find a Friend. You put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. It's just Eevee with 20 more health, and it's a water type, but it doesn't evolve. Like Eevee evolves, this is not, so it's not that good. It's okay, I guess. It's colorless at least. You can stick it in whatever deck you want, but I just don't see, like, yeah, the ability to pull Pokemon cards out of your deck is really good, but then you have this card sitting on like your field that it's just taking up space. And like, I guess potentially, you know, the more I think about it, the more I figure you could run this with Magikarp. And like, if all it does is get Pokemon cards for you, you know what? Maybe it's not bad, because if it can reliably pull water Pokemon out of my deck to get me closer to Magic or to Gyarados doing its job, maybe it's not bad. Maybe it actually is pretty all right. My wife loves Mantine. This isn't it. Still 4 energy for an 80 damage move. I don't care if the Pokemon's basic. This is ridiculous. 4 energy? Get out of here. I'm not using it. It's the dig move where it can prevent damage on coin flip, but like, 4 energy is ridiculous. No, thank you. I pass. Octillery is cool. It's the same thing but reverse, where they have to flip a coin, and if they get tails, the attack doesn't do anything against Octillery. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if this is a card you'll use very much, but I like the ability. Suicune is here. Cure Stream during your opponent's next turn. Attacks used by a defending Pokemon do 20 less damage. That's not bad. It's weird for sure, and it works with Ho-Oh. I like it though, purely because it's like a water Pokemon card that like helps block damage. I got nothing wrong with that. It's not great. Like Suicune's my favorite of the three, I think. So I kind of wish it was doing a little more, but like if you look at Raikou and Entei as well, I kind of think out of the three, this one and Raikou are probably your cooler ones, I guess. I do like the fact though that you can make a Ho EX, a Suicune, a Raikou, and an Entei deck. I think that's pretty sick. Crawdon's in here. Crawdon's pretty cool. It has an ability once during your turn when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can discard a random energy from your opponent's Pokemon. It's kind of wacky because you can't like evolve 2 Corphish and do that twice. It's only once during your turn when you play this Pokemon. I think that means you can't do it twice. Maybe you can. But it says once during your turn. So I get the feeling that you're not allowed to do this like twice in the same turn, but maybe you are. That'd be pretty wild for sure. But that's great. Getting rid of all that energy I think would be really good. We got Lantern EX. People are, I'm gonna be honest, I think some of y'all are sleeping on Lantern EX. A lot of people are saying they don't think it's that good of a card. I think y'all are sleeping on what could be a very consistent EX. It needs 3 energy to attack, but electric type is very good at generating energy, especially with Pichu over here generating electric energy as well. It does 80 damage for 3 energy. You flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, and if tails, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. So 50-50, it could get paralyzed, could get confused. And I think both of those status effects, like people kind of sleep on confusion because it's a coin flip thing, but like, I mean, if you hit them and they get confused and they flip tails, you're going to be pogging, so I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. But Lantern EX is pretty good. I don't think it's that bad. I actually kind of like it. I think it's a fun electric type, for sure. It's got a decent amount of health. I think it's got a fun ability, especially with one of the trainer cards we haven't seen yet. That is insane for coin flips. And since this is just a single coin flip thing, I think it'll be really good. We know about Ampharos. Same deal. There's a card that helps with coin flips. We'll get to it. Okay, so Xatu. We gotta talk about Xatu, guys. Xatu has this move, Life Drain. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon remaining HP is now 10. I think people are looking at this card incorrectly. A lot of people are like, what if you paired this with Greninja? It would be a terrible idea. One of the biggest reasons why Greninja and Giratina work together so well is because Giratina generates its own energy. That's a big part of why that deck works. Xatu needs 2 psychic energy to work. If you are trying to run Greninja with this, and you are running psychic energy and water energy, you could brick. It could very well happen that you don't get the psychic energy you need and you're screwed and you cannot use this card. Another big part of this card is that you have to attack, and that this attack does not knock out the Pokemon. It'll only ever change their HP to 10. And that's if you flip heads, but there's a card that helps with that. The thing is, you know, like people want to use Greninja with this. I just don't think it's good. But what I would ask you guys to think about using, that's like a good card for this, is you should really consider using Grafaiai. Grafaiai has that ability where even if it's on the bench, you can flip a coin, and if it's heads, the opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. That's important because poison does 10 damage on that next turn on the Pokemon checkup. So you do this move, they have 10 HP, you flip a coin with Grafaiai, I hope you hit heads, and then that Pokemon is knocked out. Granted, it's the same thing where like I think Grafaiai needs dark type energy to attack, but I mean, it'd be funny if you could make that work. I think that has more potential than Greninja's Xatu. Otherwise, I don't know, this card's kind of a meme. Like, you can't knock anything out with this Pokemon. Like, your knockout, it has to be with a different Pokemon. So, and there's options, don't get me wrong. Like, you could definitely run this as a supporter to take down like way bigger Pokemon for sure. I'd probably put this in like a single prize deck. You wouldn't run this with the EXs, I don't think, because there's a chance this gets knocked out right after you use it. So, but it's funny. I mean, the only issue is that there's a lot of healing cards. Like, this is one of the rare times where healing actually would be really good. Like a cape, potion, Pokemon Center Lady, Lily, any of that stuff technically kind of counters what this does. I mean, it's still technically, like, if a Pokemon has like 200 health because of Giant Cape or whatever, and you hit it with this move, it only got 10. So even if it heals with Lily, that Pokemon's only gonna have 70 health. You're in a really good spot to knock it out with something else, but you want to have something else that hits hard. So, I mean, maybe you pair this with Giratina. maybe you would pair this with Giratina, but then there's other Pokemon that pair better with Giratina than this. So maybe like Sylveon. Sylveon EX wouldn't be bad because you can mill cards out of your deck with it too to get to Xatu. Nah, that's not a bad idea. That might be a good play. Or Espeon. Espeon does a decent amount of damage as well. The Espeon EX here. You could pair it with this too. It does 80 damage. So you're pretty much guaranteed to knock anything out after you use that move. So it's a thought. There's definitely some Pokemon you can pair it with for sure. But then you gotta make sure you got your energy up. It's the only thing. We got the other unknown I mentioned earlier with the ability Power. Do 10 more damage if you have another unknown that has a different ability somewhere in the field. So that's pretty cool. Pair that with, you can pair this in any deck because it's colorless energy for the hidden power attack. So you can throw this kind of in any deck as sort of like a sentence enhancer. Is it going to be any good? I don't know. Wobbuffet's cool. We like Wobbuffet. 2 energy. It does 30 damage, but if it was hit with an attack the turn prior to this, it does 50 more damage. So it does 80 damage. Wobbuffet's kind of a meme. I like that, so I'm cool with it. I don't think that's bad at all, actually. It's not like crazy, but it's fun. Barbaricle's in this. It's not that great. 70 damage for 3 energy is kind of mid. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Astonish is a good meme. Honchkrow, 60 damage for 2 dark type energy, not bad. Weavile doing 50 damage for 1 dark type energy isn't terrible. I think we already talked about Houndoom and Absol. Okay, Scizor is cool. We like Scizor. This actually isn't too bad. If this Pokemon moved from your bench to the active spot on this turn, this attack does 50 more damage. So it does 50 base for 2 steel type energy, which I actually think is pretty decent. And then if it's moved from the bench to the active, so you swap, it does 100. You could do the same thing you do with Pokemon that can't attack on the same turn, and you can use Lyra to swap something with Scizor, and then swap the Scizor back and have it do another 100 damage. Kind of cool, kind of sick. I like that a lot, actually. I think that has a lot of like really cool potential, and Scizor just looks sick, so I'm excited about that. Let's see. Porygon 2, I still think this, I like this Porygon Z is not as good as the other one with Buggy Beam in my opinion, but like the Porygon 2 ability almost makes this better because it's like a free rare candy. Like you don't even have to worry about running rare candy in a deck like this. You would just run Porygon 2 because it's technically better than a rare candy. Whenever you attach an energy from your energy zone to this Pokemon, you put a random card from your deck that evolves from this Pokemon onto this Pokemon to evolve it. So you essentially get to have a free evolution. Like let's say you evolve from Porygon to Porygon 2, you're gonna throw another energy on this, it evolves straight into Porygon Z. I was not familiar, I'm gonna be honest. I thought this was a worse version of the dog from this one of the earlier sets. I was terribly wrong. I was horribly wrong. It's actually purely because of Porygon 2, it's actually better. You just have to make sure you do it in the right order. Like if you accidentally put an energy on your Porygon and then evolve it into Porygon 2, you're in a rough spot. This also only works with an energy from the energy zone. That's important to note that you can't transfer an energy from something else to this to make it evolve. I'm pretty sure. I talked about Apom. Okay, we gotta talk about Smeargle. This is fun. This is like Buggy Beam, but like even more scummy. You change the type, well not even more scummy, but it's just funny. You change the type of a random energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon to one of the following at random. I do feel like there are a lot of Pokemon with moves that only require one type from their, element. So this could disrupt a Pokemon for sure. I mean, this would definitely have a good chance of disrupting Giratina. Like you bring Smeargle into a Giratina fight, you might not be in a too bad spot. You might be having a good time, especially since a lot of these Giratina decks, they run 2 or 3 energy. So you could definitely mess up someone using Giratina for sure, which is a ton of fun. But other than that, it's like just goofy. Like it does 50 damage for 2 a colorless, which isn't the worst thing for a basic like this. And being able to switch energy out on something could be pretty good, but it could also just be troll and it might not do a whole lot. It depends. We got Squirt Bottle. You get to discard a fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This card's okay. It's kind of niche, I will say. It's really like, it's just okay. I don't think it's anything to write home about, because like if you put this in a deck and you're not going against a fire type deck, it's garbage. It doesn't do anything. So like why you like, it's interesting that you would consider putting this in a deck, but I wouldn't put more than like 1 copy into a deck, because if you've got 2 and you're not going against a fire deck, you're not doing anything. If fire decks were like more in the meta right now, I mean, fire decks are pretty popular, but I don't feel like they're popular enough that you run this and you feel like you're in a really like comfortable spot, you know? I mean, it counters Charizard decks, and I guess we see a lot of Charizard, but I don't feel like we see that much Charizard. All right, 2 trainers. This is the trainer everyone's been talking about, I feel like. This is Will. Will is a fantastic supporter. The next time you flip any number of coins for the effect of an attack, ability, or trainer card after using this card on this turn, the first coin flip will definitely be heads. That's insane. I say it's insane. There's only so many Pokemon this actually benefits like a bunch. There's a ton of Pokemon that do damage with coin flips, and being able to guarantee that at least one of those coin flips is heads is pretty good. But like we mentioned how like Ampharos requires like a heads flip for extra damage on its move. We talked about how Lantern, if you want to paralyze the Pokemon you're going against. We talked about Xatu with its life drain move and you have to flip a heads. This works for a ton of different cards, and we'll be seeing a ton of it for a long time for sure. I do want to mention, I think some people are reading this card wrong. I think when you use this supporter, it only counts for the first coin flip on that turn. It does mention trainer cards, but not trainer cards are also like items and stuff too. So if we ever get items, I don't think we have like any items that are dependent on coin flips right now, but if we ever did get them, they would work with this. But it not all supporters are, or not all trainer cards are supporters. I think this only works for the turn you're playing it. It doesn't, like, let's say you have Misty and Will in a deck and you play Will first and then you play Misty. I don't think you're getting a guaranteed head flip with Misty on the following turn. It only counts for the turn that you're playing it on. All right, we got the Fisher. You flip 3 coins. For each heads, a water Pokemon is chosen at random from your discard pile, and you get to put it in your hand. This is obviously Gyarados, right? Like, this only works with Gyarados, honestly. Do I think it's that good? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think this is that great. You're probably gonna flip at least 1 heads every time you play this, maybe 2. I doubt you're flipping 3 all the time, right? And there are chances where you flipped all tails. We already have a supporter in the game that is guaranteed to pull a Pokemon out of the discard pile with the Celestic Town Elder, and she, like I said, she's guaranteed to pull at least 1 out. You know, with this card, I might not pull any. I could play this card and it does nothing for me because I'm flipping 3 coins, and I could get all tails. So it definitely has a lot of potential with Gyarados. But it could, I would almost rather just run Celestic Town Elder because it's more consistently going to pull a card out of your graveyard. Whereas this, I don't know. It might be popping off. I would, if anything, I would probably run 2 copies of Celestic Town Elder and then just 1 copy of Fisher. And the Fisher copy would just be the ultimate gamba on hoping I can pull as much as I can out of the deck. Or out of the discard pile to get Gyarados up and running again. Otherwise, it's it's okay. Anyway, here are all the other cards from the set. You guys can take a look at them real quick. Chikorita looks cute. I like the Cyndaquil. The Quillfish is funny looking. Octillery is sick. All of these 1-star cards are looking really good. I'm excited for a lot of these 1-stars. And of course, the Pokemon full arts look good. The trainers are good. I love the Rainbow Border Shuckle. At first, I was like, I don't know if I really like Shuckle, and then I saw this Rainbow Border Shuckle, and I was like, okay, hold on. It's not that bad. The Kingdra and the Lantern EX Rainbow Borders 2 also look incredible. And it looks like the Lugia EX immersive is also going to look really good. And then we did get shiny Gyarados EX. So if you guys like running Gyarados EX, which I think there are some decks still that kind of run Gyarados EX, it's still an option. It's still out there. I will say it is funny how like Flareon and Jolteon that we get are from Eevee Grove, but this Vaporeon here is not the Vaporeon from Eevee Grove. This is like the first Vaporeon we got. So I think it's very interesting that they were like, oh, yep, sorry, we gave you guys a bad Vaporeon. That's on us. The shiny version is going to be the better one. Or I don't know if this is even really better. It's just a different one. So I think that's funny that they didn't pull that one and that they pulled a different one. Anyway, that is pretty much all the cards from this new set that are coming out. I'm excited. I think there's like a couple promos that aren't seen here. Like I think there's a Blissey EX promo that's pretty good. I think that'll be pretty exciting to check out. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good time looking at all these cards with me, and I hope you are excited for some of them. Let me know which cards you're the most excited for in the comments. I think honestly, like Lantern EX, I'm probably super excited for. Obviously, I'm excited for Ho-Oh and Lugia though. I think those are going to be some pretty sick cards, but there's a lot of cards with some potential. I was giving Porygon Z crap, but like the fact that it doesn't even have to be in your hand, like Porygon 2, for it to evolve into Porygon Z. You don't have to have, you know. I will say, I think it's interesting that it says put a random card from your deck. So like if you have both Porygon Z's in your hand, does Porygon 2 work? I don't know, but it's something. I think this set will shake up the meta a little bit though. Will it change it completely? We'll see. I think there are some cards that are a bit underwhelming, but I do think there are other cards that definitely have a lot of potential. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are pumped. Love this generation. Can't say that enough. I really love it a ton. And this is Clocky, clocking out. I'll see you guys around.